Welcome to Car Sales Talk 101, where it's all about life in the car business. Telling you like it is. Here's the man with the plan, Terry Cameron. Let's get started.
Welcome back to Car Sales Talk 101. I'm Terry Cameron. Thanks for hanging out with me again this week. This episode, I believe, is 181. I might be wrong, but I believe it is episode 181. And the title of it is Shit Apples. And I'll explain exactly what I mean here in just a few minutes. But first, please head on over to Apple Podcast. Give me a rating. Write me a review. Those reviews and ratings are what keep me coming back to do more episodes. So please, at the end of this episode, the young lady will also give you an email address for you to reach out to me if you have any questions. And I promise, it may take me a little bit because, I still have a job, but I will get back to you. I promise. So let's talk about shit apples. Well, before we talk about shit apples, let's talk about something that's sort of kind of like that. I'm sure you've all heard, birds of a feather flock together. You also heard you are who you hang with. Well, if you've ever watched the Trailer Park Boys, there's the trailer park manager, Mr. Leahy, always said the shit apple does not fall far from the shit tree. And we're going to talk about those three things because I believe they all mean the same thing. Joe Verdi on Joe Verdi Training Network, and if you haven't checked that out, you really need to. If you reach out to them at jvtn.com, they'll give you a temporary password to try it for a couple of days. But what Joe Verdi talks about are some secrets to success. And those secrets to success are it's skills, habits, attitude, and choice of customers. So first, I want to talk about choice of customers. If you are continually dealing with subpar customers, and I mean, 550 credit scores and below, people that just are hard to get approved, but they'll hang around with you all day long until you can get them approved or eliminate them, one or the other. If that's what you're dealing with all the time, it's because that's the pool that you're fishing in. You're fishing in that subpar swimming pool or pond. You need to get out of there because as far as choice of customers go, we want you to start dealing with customers that can buy. And here's how you do that. I've talked about it in previous episodes, and that's ask for referrals at the time of sale. The customers are excited. They're on an emotional high. They like you at that time. I would certainly hope so. It's time to ask them for referrals. And like I mentioned before, this is a no-brainer. If you do this and you do it every single time, your income will double or triple in just a few short months. And that means when you're filling out the application, and yes, I still believe you should fill out the application, but if the customer's filling out the application, pull out a reference sheet. On that reference sheet, hand that one to the customer and tell them, hey, most of our banks require 3 to 5 local references. So go ahead and fill those out, and I'll be right back with you. When you come back, you get those references, and you'll just say something, words to the effect of, hey, these references you gave me here, do you mind if I give them a call? And then if you stop right there, they're going to say, no, don't worry about it. I'll give them your cards or I'll send people to you. You want to say, do you mind if I give them a call? And that's not to sell them a car. It's just to introduce myself, let them know they have a friend in the car business. So if they ever do have a question, they have somebody to reach out to. Do you think that would be okay? Remember, they're on an emotional high right now. They like you. They just purchased their car. Of course they're going to say okay. Or at the very least, they're going to say, well, maybe this one, but not this one. But think about it. If you fill out 4 or 5 applications in a week, and you can get 3 to 5 references that you can turn into referrals each week, well, let's do the math. 5 times 3 is 15. 15 referrals you could get in 1 week. 15. 25 if you work 5 days a week, and you get 5 references that you turn into referrals. Think about that. 25. That's 100 referrals a month. And you can't tell me that if you reach out to each one of those, and I mean every single one of them, that you're not going to get a sale, either now or down the road a bit. Right? Now, when you do reach out to these people, you have got to say, you don't want to the one thing you don't want to do is try to sell them something. You just want to call them and say, hey, I was recently working with so-and-so, and he gave me your name as a reference and thought it'd be okay to call you, and I'm not calling to sell you a car. I'm just calling to introduce myself. And if it's possible, could I get your email address, and I'll shoot over all my contact information, and don't worry, I'm not going to blow your email up. You may hear from me 3 or 4 times a year, if that. You have to do that. And let's just cut it in half. Say of those 25 that you got, only 12 of them listen to you. Just half of them. Well, it's 12, 24, 36, 48 that actually listened to you and gave you their email so you could shoot over your contact information. And in all those conversations, you have to admit that something is going to happen. The conversation is going to turn to them purchasing a car, you selling them a car, because they're going to ask questions like, hey, what exactly do you sell? They're going to make statements like, well, we were thinking about looking for a car, or I have a friend or family member that's been looking for a car, and they just opened the door to you talking to them about purchasing a car. And you can ask the questions, and we're not going to get into all those questions that you would start asking at that time right now, but you can start turning it into a sales call and not just a get to know you call. You have to do it. And I'm telling you, if you do this every single time, it won't be long before you don't take another up on the lot. Everything is going to be referrals and be-backs and repeat customers. And those customers that you're reaching out to are going to be the good ones. And if they're not, don't reach out to them. If they're not good ones, don't waste your time. I mean, I know bad things happen to good people, but you're in the business to make money, not friends. So you want to start dealing with all those good customers, and as long as you're asking for them, you're going to get them. So if you get the bad ones, well, that's the shit apples. They just fell from the shit tree, and the rest of them are going to fall in the same spot, and you're going to continue working with them if you choose to do that. Right? Birds of a feather flock together. Now let's talk about the other side of the spectrum. Not your customers, but your coworkers, your peers. Again, the shit apple doesn't fall far from the tree. If you're going to hang out with the 5 or 6 car salesperson, and I am not trying to put anybody down when I talk about a 5 or 6 car salesperson. What I'm saying is, if you choose to hang around with that below average salesperson, you're going to be a below average salesperson. The shit apple doesn't fall far from the shit tree. Birds of a feather flock together. Right? You are who you hang with. I mean, you can see this in all kinds of examples. And I'm not going to throw anybody's name out there, but there's a lot of professional sports athletes that came from the hood, made millions, and went back to the hood with their millions. Well, what's going to happen to them? If you're a sports person, you know the ones that I'm talking about and what eventually did happen to them. They went right back to where they were. They became a shit apple. And they don't fall far from the shit tree. So start hanging out with the average and above average salespeople. Start listening to what the average and above average salesperson says. There's a thing that they do. There's words that they use. There's way they carry themselves that end up in a car sale. You need to be doing the same thing. And if that's just not you, well, you need to change that. You need to start working on changing yourself, your image. You need to change the way you feel. Again, Joe Verdi says the acronym LAST, L-A-S-T. Look, act, sound, and think like a pro, and you'll become a pro. The shit apple doesn't fall far from the shit tree. Another thing to Mr. Leahy says, man, do you smell that? That's the shit winds are blowing, and we got a shit storm coming. You better get out of the way, guys. Get over there on the above average side of the board. And start working with people like you are a pro. Look like a pro, act like a pro, sound like a pro, and think like a pro, and you'll be a pro. Birds of a feather flock together. Get away from the people that are bringing you down. Get away from the customers that just take your entire day up and result in either no sale or just a mini. Man, it is no fun spending 3, 4, 5, 6 hours with a customer to make $150, $200. You could do much better just by switching it to the other end of the spectrum. Get away from that shit tree. Get away from that bird. Get away from all those subpar people, the customers and the salespeople, and you'll go far. Man, you have to believe this. If you can do all these things and it's not hard, you're not going to get your fingernails dirty, you're not going to hurt your back. You're just going to be steady, Freddy, and the sky is the limit. And I'll see you soon. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. Please rate it and write a review on Apple Podcasts. We appreciate your valuable feedback. You can email Terry at 10minutesalestalk@hot.rr.com. And don't forget to share the show with a friend.